Peace. This is Xyenz, and this is a public science announcement. I'm going to read you something that I just wrote that was triggered by some recent events and things that I've been thinking for quite some time. I just want to say this as plainly as possible. Men need to get it together. You have eyes to see, but not rape a woman with. You have a mouth to speak for encouraging and uplifting our queens, not slandering, disrespecting, or destroying them. Nor is it for attacking your brother. You have hands to help and push your people up, to protect women and babies with. Your hands are not for impeding progress or attacking real men and women who give themselves and their love to the community. You have a phallus to procreate with, but not to stick in anything it will fit. Your scrotum carries life, but apparently not enough for some of you. You of whom I speak don't seem to have the cojones it takes to do anything worth being done. So I tell you to commit seppuku since we don't need you. But I know you won't. You don't even have the spine to correct your retarded behavior, and you'd rather attack someone else for your idiosyncrasies. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to end. All I know is that this needs to be said. You are a disgrace to mankind if you are disrespectful to the creators of our existence. I'll read that again. You are a disgrace to mankind if you are disrespectful to the creators of our existence. One does not have to think very hard to determine why the world is in shambles. Society at large desecrates the woman. The earth is a macrocosm of our respective mothers. Look at her condition. Man sucks the lifeblood from the planet and burns it. Oil. Foolishly, man consumes every resource that he is able to garner from our great mother. In correspondence, he retrieves every resource that he can from women. Here, now, on this day, the woman is losing her energy, physical constitution, mental clarity, emotional stability, and spiritual resonance behind the actions of man. Whatever has caused this condition is for another time to discuss. I am raising a flag to alert the community of human beings on this planet that the woman and the future are in grave danger. Not only has man crafted enough explosives to completely shatter the third rock from the sun into pebbles and dust, there are many weapons beyond the pistol to destroy the life giver known to us as the woman. Whether you think that the woman is above the male, Eve equal to Adam, or girl inferior to boy is not up for debate. If you don't take into account that women have more genetic material than men, XX chromosomes, in contrast to XY, which is the reason women live longer, you must conceptualize a world without women is immediately doomed. Women are the house to a baby before it has a pulse. They reach into the spirit realm and grab souls to pair with earthly vessels. They nearly or do die to bring life to this planet. No man has been made without a woman to bear him. No man. Every man owes every woman on this planet because of this fact alone. To touch back on a woman living longer than her male counterpart, this is an extremely grand testament to her being. Women undergo great duress at the hands of their physicality and men. I am citing a website, www.fao.org. I quote, "Women produce between 60 and 80% of the food in most developing countries and are responsible for half of the world's food production. Yet their key role as food producers and providers and their critical contribution to household food security is only recently becoming recognized. FAO studies confirm that while women are the mainstay of small-scale agriculture, the farm labor force, and day-to-day family subsistence, they have more difficulties than men in gaining access to resources such as land, credit, and productivity-enhancing inputs and services. Need I expound upon this? It is well known that women have been suppressed in most recent history. While I could go on for hours explaining how and why, I digress. I want to focus on present day as much as possible. A day where women feel the need to still fight and gain the same power even that men had dictatorially over them. To bring you up to speed, I have long felt the need to change a certain aspect of our social construct. I have only lived inside of the United States of America. Therefore, my experiences here heavily influence my views. I have come to know that men can commit atrocious crimes against women, and continue leading lives free of imposed punishment. While one may say that it is not for another to decide what karma will, I retort, in America, the judge exercises the right to sentence plenty to life or death for less than the psychological torment and emotional destruction women suffer. In the streets, some could lose his life for stepping on the wrong shoe, a glance in the wrong direction, or even a good hand at craps or spades. With this situation being well known, how does a woman without support and guidance overcome such hell? I'm going to cite another website, www.rainn.org. 1 out of every 6 American women has been the victim of an attempted or completed rape in her lifetime. That's 14.8% completed rape, 2.8% attempted rape. Effects of rape. Victims of sexual assault are 3 times more likely to suffer from depression, 6 times more likely to suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, 13 times more likely to abuse alcohol, 26 times more likely to abuse drugs, and 4 times more likely to contemplate suicide. Statistically speaking, several women I know have been the victim of attempted or actual rape. I have a mother, 3 sisters, a daughter, and my daughter's mother makes 6 women in my closest circle. It is easy for me to relate to those that I do not know well, but it is at least easy enough for many of you to understand the gravity of these stats. One of the aforementioned statistically has or will suffer such a heinous act. What would your response to such a dilemma be? I am speaking from a sound mind when I say that I am radically opposed to our current social climate. The same website claims that 15 out of 16 rapists never spend a day in jail. Yet we all know or know of someone in jail now for something less perverse or destructive. Is this the type of world you imagined as a child that you would live in as an adult? By being born in a man's body, you are automatically assigned the duty of preserving our queens. This is my view, but I don't think of it as an opinion, but a standard. To bring you up to speed on what finally triggered the release of my ideas on this subject, I will retell a story. This story is a summary of the events which took place earlier this evening, Friday, October 21st, 2011, in Harlem, New York. I was with a sister, my brother's wife. We were handing out some flyers to the community. These flyers were for a coming event that would benefit the community. My brother's wife is attractive by most men's standards, but even if she wasn't, I don't know if tonight would have gone differently. I want to cut through the dozens of men who literally walked with twisted necks, or even backwards as they blatantly stared, muttering, "Goddamn shh," or "expletive deleted is expletive deleted." Something juvenile like that is, all that other stuff. While I felt that these brothers could have had more class and self-restraint, I did my best to pay them no mind while making sure that we were safe. One man eventually stopped to tell my sister that she was the most beautiful woman that he had ever seen. He proceeded to ask her where she was from and inquire more about her than the flyer had already handed him. I noticed his shifty eyes and advancing stance, so I asked her when her husband was coming back, loud enough for the man to hear. He barely took notice, but I took her away from him with the conversation. The man walked off, and unknown to me, he stood about 50 feet from us, staring. He came back halfway, glaring and stating to himself, I reasoned, "She's so beautiful." I stood and met eyes with him. He walked away eventually to the same station he had solidified prior to coming back the first time. He returned moments later to question the sister again while I was handing out flyers. I stepped in front of him to ask him if he needed something else. He restated that she was beautiful, the most beautiful woman that he had ever seen, and I told him that he needed to keep it moving. It says she has a husband and you need to go about your business. And I had to say it several times. He seemed entranced. So I interrupted him and his lustful gaze, and I almost believed that he would get physical just to stare at her. This man was at least 50, and the sister in her mid-20s. Now, that's a brief summary and not the whole story or completely descriptive of his bizarre behavior, but I will move on. There came another man that I handed a flyer who kept his head focused on the same sister as he walked away. There were men biting their knuckles, whistling, and making the old face, but this lost soul made it his duty to become a camera and bipod approximately 20 to 25 feet from us, over on the building, not far from us, obviously. As I noticed his sexual predator disposition, I moved in between him and the object of his lustful desire. I had not made it my duty, to stop men from looking at her. That's not my place. And I also look at women and appreciate the glory of the Supreme Being in what I feel is its greatest creation. Yet I felt that this situation imposed a certain threat or danger, and my intuition was correct. Every time I looked in that direction, he was looking at or through me with villainous eyes. The scowl that he wore was that of a madman. I don't say that with any stretch of the imagination. Composed, I continued to hand out flyers for at least 15 minutes. My eyes surveyed our sector for those willing to receive a flyer and possibly conversation. Once my eyes met this person's gaze, as he was still posted along the side of a business's entrance, he asked what I was looking at. He asked whether I want trouble or something. Since he was clearly out of his mind, I simply replied, "Excuse me?" He mumbled that I kept looking at him, among other incomprehensible words. I stated that every time I turned around, he was looking at me. He said that he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at her, not me. I asked if he needed something. He said something else that I couldn't understand, and I was told by an associate to just ignore him. He wasn't moving, so I just said okay to what sounded like him saying, "I don't need nothing from you." And he also included an F you. Of course, he was looking sideways, not really looking at me, but I maintained my position between him and the sister, and I continued handing out flyers. So frustrated, he walked off, mumbling down the block past us. Still looking, of course. I kept a clear line of sight of him, in case he tried anything shady, as he had exhibited that he may be mentally impaired or under the influence of drugs or insecurity. He stared once again for 15 more minutes from the corner down the block, not 30 yards away from us. He halfway shouted some more less than understandable phrases. Then he disappeared. Long story made short, he was more than making her uncomfortable, and his behavior was less than socially acceptable on the surface. Between the two males that exhibited such unwanted characteristics, I was truly brought to question the fabric that keeps us from being relentless savages or animals. Does it exist in general? Or is it that the majority of us pale in comparison of strength with those of the family who are mentally compromised? Our brothers will run down and gun down someone with more money than them in the same 300 square yards, i.e. a block. Men, and more hurtful in my eyes, my black brothers, are slaying each other for something as trivial as where they were born, respectively. But there are very little repercussions and much less violence for a man not being a father to a seed, which has greater effects, negative effects on our community. Not enough encouragement or questioning is done when brothers leave a woman destitute with his offspring. How much sexual education do we need to understand that intercourse without contraceptive leads to pregnancy and childbirth? While there are actions made by sisters that can be addressed for their responsibility, that is not the focus of this PXA. We, as men, should be taking care of our women. Point blank. You have probably heard the sayings before, but they are not cliches. If we educate a woman, we educate a nation. If we feed a woman, we feed a nation. If we destroy a woman, we destroy a nation. With all that I have said, I still haven't said much. Still, I hope you are all listening. Let's be the change that we want to see in this world. I believe in better days. I believe in you. Women, I honor you. I respect you. I appreciate you. I worship you. and I protect you. I charge all men on this planet to do the same. Any man seeking to destroy the woman seeks to destroy the world, his sister, mother, and daughter. I am against and by default at war with such conduct. I am my brother's keeper, and I call on you to make change. And I call you on your bull to make change, just the same as I would expect any of my family to do me. If the shoe fits, wear it. If it doesn't, beat the owner with it. In the words of Sir Charlie Murphy, we've got to do better. Protect. Science.